We're here at the Vienna conference, AIDS 2010, and we're excited about to speak with Salim Abdool Karim, who is the director of the Caprisa project at the
University of
KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, South Africa. And this is a landmark historic moment because we have we've said this many times today. This is a historic moment for research, especially in microbicides, but even for, I would say, for AIDS this year. And I can't tell you how important it is to have you give us the first-hand scoop on this that's just been released today, just having the press conference. Please tell us about this research.
Sure. So we know that in Africa, women bear the brunt of HIV infection. Young women in particular have incredibly high rates of HIV infection. When we look at what are the available tools that we can make available to these women, so the traditional ABCs, abstinence, be faithful, condoms, and circumcision, each of those 4 tools have very limited potential to a young woman recently married, trying to have children. She's already married, so she's not abstinent. She's already faithful to the very man that might bring her HIV. She can't use condoms in that relationship because she's married and trying to get pregnant. And circumcision is of benefit to the husband, not to her directly. So when a woman like that comes to you in the clinic and says, "Doctor, how do I prevent HIV?" And I sit and I don't know what to say because the existing tools we have are so limited. All I can say to her is, have you tried female condoms? How about trying this way of getting your partner to use a condom? But really, condoms are a very limited prospect. So what this study does, it provides new hope. It provides hope because for the first time we have a technology that women can really use and control, that they can take back the ability to control whether they are going to get HIV or not. And I think that's the significance of this finding. What we showed in this study, which was done in an urban and a rural clinic in South Africa, where we enrolled 889 women, where half of them used tenofovir gel and half of them used a dummy placebo gel. Tenofovir, we know, is effective in treating HIV. It's widely used in therapy. So we took it and put it into a gel formula. We said, can it prevent sexually transmitted HIV? And so we were pleasantly surprised at the end of 2.5 years. And here we have this wonderful result where we can now say that we were able to prevent 39% of the HIV infection. And how do we know that? Because we had 98 HIV infections in the study. 38 of them were in the tenofovir gel arm, 60 in the placebo arm. So if you subtract 38 from 60, that leaves you with 22. We prevented 22 infections in the study. And that 22 infections comes from just putting 445 women on tenofovir gel. So it means that this gel has a potential to have an impact on the HIV epidemic by reducing the number of cases of HIV by 39%.
I've got to know how difficult this was for you to construct this trial and kind of the backstory. You know, it must have been daunting to design it and figure out how can we answer the question.
It was a challenge.
Yeah.
But it was a challenge we were willing to take up. And we were willing to do it because we've been involved in microbicide research and we have been working in these communities for many years. And we know the importance of a female control technology for them. And so they were willing to go the distance, so we were willing to go the distance. When we first designed the study and we were about to start, people said, this trial is doomed. Headlines. This trial is not going to work. And we said, okay, well, let's do the study and you might be right. In which case we'll come and tell you, you were right, sorry we were wrong, but we don't know the answer to that question yet. We might just also be right. And as it turned out, that the gel works.
Yeah.
It prevents HIV. And to top it all, it also prevents genital herpes.
Ah, yeah. So there's another backstory.
Yeah.
Another side, yeah, unintended good consequence. Are there?
Well,
any,
you know, we were looking for herpes, so
Yeah.
I guess, you know, we weren't as optimistic about herpes.
Yeah.
We were optimistic that we would see an HIV effect, so the herpes effect was
How-
a lovely
how-
surprise.
How beneficial was it relatively? Was it?
So, you know, it prevents 51% of the herpes infection, so its impact is substantial.
Yeah.
But for me, why that's important is because by preventing herpes, in the long term, we will reduce the overall prevalence of herpes. And if we do that, we will have an impact on HIV infection, because HIV is so much more common in women who have herpes. So it has a second mechanism to impact on HIV through the reduction in herpes.
Now you knew all these results a little while ago, but do you know how did this unfold for you? What was the experience of you visiting with people understanding this? I mean, it must be exhilarating, and you probably won't sleep tonight celebrating. But
Well,
but
you
it
know,
is-
we were here in the conference in the media center
Yeah.
till 1 a.m.
Yeah.
this
Well,
morning.
I know. I said that to people. As you said, the place was packed. It was historic.
Because some idiot from Financial
I
Times
know.
breaks our embargo.
This was not appreciated. Believe me.
Yeah.
We will hear that story go on for a few days now.
So, and you know, to try and control the damage, we felt we should go out now with our story and put because not only did he break the embargo, he had some of the numbers wrong. So he was even putting false information out there.
Yeah.
So we felt, let's just, you know, put the real information. So we unblinded ourselves on the 1st of June. So we've known these results now for about 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And in all of those 6 weeks, there was never a leak. I mean,
Yeah,
until
great.
yesterday. And
Yeah.
because people we were working with all signed confidential and they all kept it to themselves. But when we first learned these results, when we sat there in the unblinding meeting and learned these results, we did exactly what they did in this meeting. Everybody spontaneously clapped. Wow!
So
you
there's
got
several
39%.
several moments. There were several occasions.
Well, yeah, we had a
yeah.
few more.
Yeah,
We didn't
yeah.
have that many in the unblind. We just had that one clap. I mean, it was just stunning, you know.
Yeah.
But today was
It's-
surreal.
yeah, surreal.
I mean, for me to see the deep appreciation
Yeah.
and the joy in so many people's faces.
We
was heartening.
were so hungry for good news.
We needed good
We
news.
needed good news. We needed a
Yeah,
win,
yeah.
and I think this is an opportunity. I just spoke to Mitchell about the Mitchell Warren about the fact that we languished over the loss, the disappointment of the Merck vaccine trial, and we thought, what were we going to do with all this infrastructure? And like, we can't let it go away. And I guess we answered the question. There's work to be done, isn't there?
Absolutely. And you know, we've been very fortunate. We've been working with USAID on this project. And you know, even though people kept saying, you know, the study is not going to work, why are you funding the study? You know, they stayed with it. They looked at the science and they said, no, the science is good. Let's go ahead. And I give them credit for wanting to do this. And it takes a lot of guts.
And Fauci gave you some really great lauds on the fact that he tried to tear it here and there, and he says there's no way you can look at this that it isn't good news, which is very very credible. To give you that.
That's very
kind of,
pleasing to
yeah,
see.
yeah.
I mean, I have the greatest of respect for Dr. Fauci, so his opinion is important. When we shared the data with him, I think that's one of the things he wanted to see is how robust is the study, because that's what you want. You want to know how
Can it stand-
strong is this data.
can it
stand
stand the-
criticism?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Can it stand the peer process? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's the good news. That's really
Yeah.
good news.
And it's all credit to the great team that analyzed these data.
Yeah.
They're just an amazing group.
So, what are you going to do now? I mean, you have more work to do. There's other trials going forward. We certainly hope that there's more. We hope this gives everyone a little more excitement and hope. It certainly gives the scientific community hope.
Yeah.
What we're giving now is the audience here in the world, the whole world, the sense that there is hope. But it's not hype. This is hope.
No, this is
and we're
hope.
going to move on with. And this may be a drug that'll be on, or a compound or now a drug that'll be on the market in a number of years.
Yeah.
And it may not be, as you said, it's not in the final form.
Yeah.
But But the nice thing, and maybe the question I wanted to ask you is about the gel. It appears that we had some discussions about this before, that it is innocuous. It is totally accepted by the people for use.
Yeah.
So it's in fact almost an inducement to having better sex relations and so forth. So it's for that purpose. Now, I do ask you, is this going to be something they can use for rectal microbicides, do you suppose? Or a version of it?
I would hope so. The trouble is that we don't have data on that right now. There is a study underway. I know of a study that's underway in the Microbicide Trials Network to look at rectal safety. So I would love to, and I would hope that our study gives impetus to a whole agenda to look at the potential of tenofovir for rectal microbicides, both for women who have anal sex and for men who have sex with
Because
men.
that was one of my, I was going to ask that question, but the line was too long. But the question is, okay, you know, how did that affect your study? The potential that people might have been having anal intercourse in that through the study.
Well, one of the reasons we actually chose those two sites is we had good data to show anal sex was not common.
Okay.
So that was one of the reassuring things for us.
Okay, but that would have to be put into the instructions or the directions.
And we did that in the study. Women were told repeatedly, don't insert it in the rectum.
Okay. Well, listen, I think this has been you know, wonderful opportunity to visit with somebody that has done so many fabulous things.
Thank you.
And I'm looking forward to what the next visit. Absolutely. See where we go from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you.